This is Cruise News with Oliver. Good morning. Here's your cruise news for Monday, July 7th. A tragic update from Alaska. Authorities have confirmed the body of a 62-year-old cruise passenger, Dr. Buenne, who went missing during a solo hike in Juneau. Dr. Buenne, a passenger aboard the Norwegian Bliss, was last seen on Tuesday morning heading up to the Mount Roberts tramway. After failing to return, a multi-agency search was launched, and her body was found Thursday, about 1,700 feet below Gold Ridge. Our thoughts are with her family during this difficult time. Remember to always share your plans and carry backup communication when hiking in remote areas. In another story out of France, tensions are rising as the mayor of Nice was denied access to Royal Caribbean's Voyager of the Seas after trying to expel the ship from the harbour. What exactly happened? We'll dive into the details in today's cruise news update. Let's dive into the first story, which is a heartbreaking reminder of the risks that come with exploring the beautiful yet remote areas cruise passengers often visit. Dr. Buenne, a 62-year-old passenger aboard the Norwegian Bliss, went missing during a solo hike in Juneau, Alaska, earlier this week. Dr. Buenne was last seen on Tuesday morning around 7:30 a.m. as she made her way up to the Mount Roberts tramway. It seemed like a routine hiking adventure for someone who was likely familiar with the terrain, but tragically things took a turn when she failed to return to the ship. Once the initial search didn't yield results, authorities quickly organized a multi-agency response to locate her. As the days passed, the situation grew more tense. The search efforts involved local law enforcement, volunteers, and the ship's own crew working tirelessly to cover ground in the rugged and challenging Alaskan wilderness. Sadly, just 2 days later, on Thursday, Dr. Buenne's body was found roughly 1,700 feet below Gold Ridge. The news of her passing has sent a wave of shock and sadness across the cruise community, and our hearts go out to her family and loved ones who are undoubtedly devastated by this loss. While this tragic story has left many grieving, it's also a moment for all of us to reflect on the importance of safety precautions when venturing into unfamiliar or remote areas. Dr. Buenne's unfortunate fate serves as a reminder to always share your plans with family and friends, and if possible, to have some form of backup communication when heading out on hikes or exploring wilderness areas. Cruise lines often provide excursions that take guests into remote and beautiful landscapes, but it's essential to understand the risks involved and take the necessary steps to stay safe. We often hear stories of people getting lost during solo excursions, and these events underline the importance of preparing properly for any adventure, whether it's having a charged phone with emergency contact details, carrying a GPS device, or simply notifying someone of your expected return time. Taking precautions can mean the difference between life and death. Hopefully, the lessons learned from this incident will encourage future cruisers to take extra care when they venture off the beaten path. Turning to a different kind of drama, we now move to a very unusual situation that unfolded in Nice, France. On July 3rd, the mayor of Nice, Christian Estrosi, tried to take matters into his own hands by attempting to expel the Royal Caribbean ship Voyager of the Seas from the harbour. What exactly happened? Well, the mayor arrived at the port, attempting to board the vessel via a police boat in order to personally hand a letter to the captain. The letter was aimed at enforcing new local restrictions that limit ships to a capacity of 2,500 passengers or less. The Voyager of the Seas, however, had more than 3,100 passengers on board, clearly exceeding the local limit. Despite Estrosi's intentions, security staff on the ship denied him access. This understandably caused some tension. The mayor, who was already trying to exert his authority over the port situation, was left in a bit of an awkward position, as he was unable to board the ship and hand over his letter directly to the captain. The scene, though seemingly out of a political drama, remained relatively calm, and according to passengers on board, there was no disruption to their vacation or cruise experience. The incident has sparked quite a bit of debate. On one hand, local governments have the responsibility to ensure that public health and safety regulations are being followed, especially when it comes to high-capacity cruise ships visiting their ports. On the other hand, Royal Caribbean has firmly stated that the call was pre-approved by port authorities and that visitor access to the ship must adhere to proper protocols. The cruise line pointed out that such protocols require that any visits from external individuals be coordinated well in advance and not occur unexpectedly or without clearance. This disagreement is far from a small matter, It touches on the growing tension between local governments and cruise lines, particularly in a post-pandemic world where restrictions and capacity limits have become the norm. Cities like Nice, which are often overrun by tourists, have become more proactive in enforcing capacity limits to maintain a balance between tourism and local quality of life. The mayor's action, though denied, brings to light the fine line that cruise lines must walk between regulatory compliance and ensuring the uninterrupted operation of their ships. In the wake of this situation, both sides are planning to meet to resolve the conflict. This meeting will likely address how to better coordinate cruise ship arrivals and departures to ensure that both the local community's interests and the cruise line's operational needs are respected. It also raises the question of whether more cities and ports will begin to impose stricter regulations on cruise ship capacities as they try to strike a balance between maintaining a healthy economy and preserving the local way of life. Finally, turning to the financial side of things, we've got some positive news for the cruise industry. As we know, the pandemic wreaked havoc on the travel and tourism sectors, and it's been a slow recovery. But recent stock performances are showing that things might be on the up again. Carnival Corporation saw a 1% increase, reaching $29.96, while Royal Caribbean had an even more impressive 2.6% increase, bringing its stock price to $334.48. Norwegian Cruise Line also saw a 3% jump, closing at $21.98, and Viking closed up by 2%, sitting at $55.46. These positive stock movements suggest that investor confidence in the cruise sector is on the rise. Despite the ongoing challenges, cruise companies are finding their way back to profitability, which is encouraging news for both the industry and the many individuals whose livelihoods depend on it. As we wrap up today's cruise news, we can't help but reflect on the wide range of events that affect the cruise world. From the tragic loss in Alaska to the political tension in Nice, it's clear that the world of cruising is always full of surprises, both good and bad. For now, we continue to send our best wishes to Dr. Buenne's family and our thanks to the courageous crew members who make every cruise a safe and enjoyable experience for everyone aboard. That's it for today's update. We hope you have a great weekend, and as always, thanks for tuning in to Cruise News today. Stay safe and keep cruising.